Let's see. Let me.
There you go.
I got a black screen. Let me go back.
Under the bus for
Commissioner Deathridge.
Okay. First thing I'd like to deal with would be resolution. Let me bring it up. Okay. As all of you probably know, unless you're living under a rock, we've had a lot going on in Washington, D.C. on comprehensive immigration reform. The Senate has put together a bill, and it has passed with certain amendments, not enough of them, by the way, and it has passed, and now it's gone to the House. I think we're vested in immigration reform at this level because when illegal immigration was at its height, and I want to stress illegal immigration, not immigration, but illegal immigration was at its height, I estimated back then that we were spending around, and this is a fairly qualified summation on my part, that we were spending about $2 to $2.5 million a year of county tax dollars for our part, just our part at the county level, to house, to clothe, to feed, and to educate children of illegal immigrants. Now, we are vested at this level. Also, piggyback the factor that when we do not have our borders secure in this sovereign nation, we are not truly safe. So, comprehensive immigration reform is charged to fix a lot of ills. Number one, we need to know who's on our borders, and we need to know how long they're going to be here. Two, we need to cut the cost of what illegal immigration costs. And if we're going to have legal immigrants, then they'll be part of the system and they'll pay into the system. And there'll be verifications all around for such to happen. Now, having said all of that, and I am a big supporter of comprehensive immigration reform, I'm even bigger supporter on securing our borders. It will not work to have immigration reform if we do not secure our borders. It is like washing your hands and getting them dirty at the same time, and then washing them, getting them dirty, washing them. You're not going to ever get clean. And we're not ever going to have a handle on immigrants coming to this country unless we know who's here, and whether we allow more in or not, we need to know who's here, and we need to keep the ones out that aren't had not passed the certain certifications in their own country to get here. So, having said all of that, I've presented to you a resolution that we need to send to our representatives in Washington, D.C. And I do this because we fought half the battle, but now we've got the other half to fight when it goes to the House. And the House is already stressing a desire to have immigration reform, but not until we secure our borders. So we're on the right foot, but we need to send this resolution to them to stand firm. To stand firm that we don't do anything stupid in this country like we did back in 1986, which we tacitly allowed all immigrants in this country to become legal, and that was wrong. It was nowhere near as many as there are now. There was probably a fifth as many as there are now. But it was a wrong thing to do then. Ronald Reagan said after he was president that it was probably the dumbest thing he ever did as president, allowed it to happen. So we have the opportunity now to do what is right. So I'll read this resolution to you, and I'll look for your support. The resolution, and this is off of Beaufort County now, I keep it there. Clerk, when you send this up, the words I read will be from this. Just check it. There might have been some changes, and you'll get all the updated changes if there are any. Resolution support comprehensive immigration reform with securing the borders first as its essential component. Whereas illegal immigrants cost Beaufort County millions of tax dollars every year as county services are exhausted to support those who are here illegally, and whereas there's bipartisan motivation afoot in the United States Congress to correct the United States' broken immigration policy by correcting that which is currently unsustainable, that is unwise, that is imprudent fiscally, and moreover, from a national security perspective, a great hazard, and whereas the borders of the United States are porous to a people from countries that are oppressed, impoverished, subjugated by bad policy, by chronically corrupt government entities, and ultimately are desirous of, often at a terrible cost, the relative personal promise of the United States to better their existence. Therefore, be it resolved that the good people of Beaufort County, with us as their most local governing body, the Beaufort County Commissioners, do hereby resolve that we support sustainable, wise, and prudent comprehensive immigration reform, with the most essential component of that reform being to employ the United States' estimable power to secure our borders first. There. Simple.
That's your
point.
motion.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 4-3.
That's very good. Thank you.
Who do you want that sent to?
Written by Stan Etheridge and submitted for passage on July 1st, 2013. Copies of this ratified resolution to be sent to our congressional delegation, the leadership of the House and Senate, and to the President of the United States. Also copy also to be emailed to other North Carolina counties. Just email it. Do a mass email.
Ain't that something we can support? We can secure a board and can't even build a jail.
Well, you know, I'm going to say this. If some of us were up in Congress, you know, we might actually be able to get that done.
If I was in Congress, I'd send you a letter and tell you build a jail.
You would. And I tell you, keep your nose in your own business.
That's what I'm trying to get you to say.
There you go. Your next item, Stan. Let's move on.
Next item is we're going to be talking about reevaluation. What I'm going to ask you is the same thing I asked you last month, is to commit to reevaluation just as soon as we can. We've had a month. You guys have had to think about it. You've had to get whatever information you needed to get to support the fact that we all know our property values in Beaufort County are unreal. Real estate property values in Beaufort County are unreal at this point. Our assessor was here at the last meeting, and he said right there at the meeting that possibly in our county, 50% of the sales that were used were forced sales, and we're not even using these as comparables. There is no real knowledge in our tax assessor's office of what property values in Beaufort County are worth. And I will tell you, there will be no real knowledge of what property values are worth in Beaufort County till we do a revaluation. And we've sat in equalization review meetings, all of us, and we have seen some really outlandish things. People ask us, please, I've got this appraisal. It says my property's not worth anything near like it is now. And we have to give them that same tried and true statement, which we have qualified because we give it to everyone. We can't do anything, is our statement, if the property values that you're using are after 2010. We have to have an appraisal that is of property values before 2010. And as we all well know, in that time period, there were very few values from comparables because nobody was selling their property. Everybody thought it was going to go up. We didn't start getting property values of what was selling in Beaufort County until people decided to take losses and forced sales came to the courthouse steps. Now that's all happened. We have lots of comparables, and if we got plenty of time to work with Raleigh to make sure that we're able to use all sales in Beaufort County as comparables so that we will have a real understanding of what property values are. And so what I'm going to ask, in light of one more item, and we'll probably get that report tonight, but all of you probably well know that we have our tax software in the assessor's and collector's office ready to go by the end of this year. We are working towards total integration. It will happen. We will have that done before 2014 is here. What we will have to do now is, now that we have the tax software in the process of being implemented and integrated, we will need to move forward to find suitable assessors, appraisers, to come in, work with our people, and start the revaluation to be offered to the public no later than 2016. I'm not making any promises, but there is that opportunity. We could get it done by 2015 at the rate we're going right now with the tax software being integrated and implemented. But I put this to you because in order to do this, we've got to have a commitment from this body to know we've got a problem, to know we've got to spend money to affect a solution to the problem, and I'm asking you tonight to do so. Now, I don't want to sit at another equalization and review meeting and tell people, well, we're sorry, we got a problem, we'd like to help you, and then not do it. We either got to do it or quit telling people we're going to do it and just tell them when they come before us, well, we really don't care. You're stuck with it for another 5 years. My motion is that we move forward with revaluation starting now. We can decide how to find the money. The money can come from our fund balance if necessary. It can be taken over the next number of years, and we can budget as need be. But we need to do it as soon as possible.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Go ahead.
One thing, you mentioned that we should possibly have it done by 2016. I thought we had to have it done by 2016.
No, we have to have it done by 2018.
That'll be 2 years early.
2 years early.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I mean, we're going to have to do it anyway, and we may be forced to do it. I didn't bring that up.
Commissioner
That could
Quinn.
very well happen.
Yes. Randall, at the last meeting, I requested sales information and ratios from Bobby Parker in relation to determining if the reevaluation was needed. And he did not present that tonight, and
I'll follow up.
I would like him to present that. Two other questions I would have of Bobby Parker is the last property reevaluation had some unusual numbers on it, even for the time when it was done. And the other question I would have is it possible to do the reevaluation in another manner in which it would be more appropriate for our area? In other words, more accurate and consistent. And another thing would be, is there a possibility with additional help of one person or something like that, or whatever, could it possibly be done in-house?
No.
No, you don't want.
You don't want to do that?
No.
Well, the
I
vendor,
pushed for that when I first became a commissioner.
did?
And I
was a
worked hard
disaster.
for it. In fact, we tried it. It was a disaster. There's management
disaster.
problems. It's kind of like the software. You know, we go out and we get these guys to do our software. It's going to run us $75,000 a year on average. We're so far better off than doing that than hire people to come in and do it themselves, and they know pieces about how to do it. Now, you know, you get these guys to do it all the time. They have an economy of scale. They know what they're doing. It's pretty much a scientific method in answer to one of your statements that you made that you wanted to know. There's no way we can evaluate property in this area that is not akin to the way it's done everywhere. What is on the ground, what is real, what I was just talking about with the for sales, what has actually happened is a historical account of what has happened in real estate, and they will have to use that. We just need to broaden that range that they can use. And if they do that, they will scientifically come up with values.
only,
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
typically only your large counties do it
Do
in-house.
it.
And they have large assessing staff, you know, that can do it year-round.
goes on
They do it,
continuously.
work on it every year, you know.
Well, deep down, I was not satisfied with the job the last group did.
Well, nobody was. They weren't even satisfied.
They
with
weren't
it.
even satisfied.
They weren't
It-
satisfied.
They wasn't good enough.
It was as good as they could do that. I mean, there was no data on
Mr.
the
Chairman,
ground.
let me summarize what Stan just said in so
Can I
many
finish
words.
my statement?
Sure.
One
You
sentence.
can talk all you want to.
The last question I would have is, right now, we do a reevaluation 8 years. There's a possibility that we should set it up at a more frequent cycle?
Yes.
It's just a question on
No,
my
it's
part.
actually a good idea, and I actually was going to say something about it. This will be a 6-year period if we can get it done in 2016. Now, here's the idea for keeping it on a 6-year period. You lessen sticker shock. Of course, it's not going to be, the sticker shock should be in reverse this time. But there's also the idea, if this ever happens again, then we got 2 years to play with. We can push it out 2 years if need be. Before, we were on an 8-year period, and when we tried to push it out, we couldn't push it out. And listen, if we could have pushed it out 2 years, we would have solved a lot of the problems that we got now.
Normally, when there's a problem with it, the State Department of Revenue is going to check these sales
They're gonna be
ratios
honest.
and check the data, and they're going to
Yeah, but-
notify the county you're either taxing too high or too low.
Yeah.
You're not collecting enough, and they'll direct you to perform one earlier than the 8 years.
Yeah.
They're checking them, but it's a flawed method. When 50% of your sales are forced sales, and all of those are thrown out, and they're never considered. This is a flawed method that the state's using. And Mr. Clem, what I was trying to say a while
sir.
ago in answer to all of those words that Stan used, The State Machinery Act prescribes how revaluations have to be done. Everybody does them the same. There is no deviation. There is no opportunity to be innovated. If you don't do it that way, you're in a lot of trouble. So it's prescribed. And the people that did it they're probably the best company in the Southeast doing these things. They told us over and over and over again, we're not satisfied with what we're having to do. We know it is wrong, but there is nothing we can do. We have talked to the people in Raleigh. We've done this, we've done that. We are in a box. You're doing a revaluation at the worst time you could possibly do a reval.
That's right.
That's because the economy was changing while they were doing
Oh, it was
this-
like,
Yeah.
not, not in my lifetime. Probably nobody's lifetime.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Manager, if we are preparing now for our next reval, and Commissioner Dempsey stated to go in the fund balance, do you have an estimate how much it would cost if we?
Probably about $1 million to do a reval in this county, but we, as Jim stated before, those funds are obligated in our audit. A portion of your fund balance is obligated for that purpose.
They take the total amount of the reval, the estimated cost for reval, they divide it by 8, and that's how and it comes out to be about $140,000 a year, I think.
And that's required by general statute, by the way.
Is what that's our reserve fund. We're in year 2.
We'd have to go and get two years real fast to get it done.
No, it's
Hold
already
on.
it's already encumbered. The auditors encumber that by statute.
But
So-
Stan, you had your opportunity. This is Commissioner Booth's time.
If we started now, Mr. Commissioner, would we be prepared? We started this day right here, not knowing when everything is going to be in place. Would we be prepared to have a reval in 2016?
You would have to declare your intent to hold a reval in 2016, which would escalate the amount of restricted or reserved funds of your fund balance that the auditors would recalculate in the audit after you all approved your new revaluation date.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. On those funds, you've already encumbered, 4 years at $140,000 a year? You've already encumbered $560,000. If you spread the rest of it over 3 years, which you could do, you could contract it that way if you wanted to, and you spread it over 3 years and you need another $500,000, you really need what I said last month when you said figure it, and I sat here and figured it, about $160,000, $170,000 a year. You're not getting behind if you do a reval right now and agree to go ahead and do it. You're not costing yourself anything within the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's about a 2-year process once you make the decision to do it, to get all the work done and lay it out. It's pretty intense.
Stan, when do you see doing this reval?
As soon as possible.
Well, yeah, we need to kind of move now to maybe start it in 2014.
Yeah.
And with our new software already implemented. And
Only part of it will be implemented. The entire GAN's charge pays until December 2014.
oh, okay. Well, we're getting part of it.
2015, it could be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the tax work close to being completed?
It's just
Yeah.
beginning now.
Well, it's just
Just
beginning.
beginning.
It's just beginning, but I mean, if these guys are as good as we hope they are, that shouldn't be a hindrance.
But you could surely hit 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could.
That's the best thing to do. That's 3 years ahead?
I'd love to shoot for 2015. We can't do it. We do it in
And the voters,
2016.
the taxpayers deserve it.
We would have to start it today to get it done by 2015.
You need to start if you're going to do it.
Well, you could start and do the work during 15 and 16.
Okay.
Well, if you were going to do the 17, but if you were going to do one as soon as you can, you would start it now, would you not? Am I?
Well, I think it would be a big mistake to start during the reval when we're implementing this new system.
Hey, I think
It would overwhelm,
Yeah, we've talked about
yeah,
that.
the whole system
But
and the staff there.
you could start in January of 2014 with a reval,
Yeah.
couldn't you? They wouldn't do a data dump.
If they stay on target and on schedule, you can do that.
There's
Well,
just
see-
one problem, though. They're 2 months behind right now.
That's right.
Yeah, it's about at least a month behind right now, so I would be hesitant to say January of 14. A better plan would be January of 15, and do 15 is do the work during 15 and 16. And,
Well, you're not getting ahead doing it that
Yeah.
way.
Look,
well, it still would be implemented 2 years early. That
But you
No,
could
1 year
start in
early.
1 year early. You could start it. You could start in 2014. There's no reason that whoever does it, with computers being what they are, couldn't do a data dump. They don't have to get into your system in order to do this reval. They can dump your system into theirs. They can do the reval and hold it, and then they can dump back to Farragut. I mean, this thing. We need to look at this. We need to look at it about proceeding as soon as we can. And if we find out from the standpoint of data handling that we can't, we can always put it off that next year.
I think you're selling our employees short. They should be able to pick this up.
But it's not our
Right.
employees so much as it is what the consultant can do
Well,
in
we
his
don't know
computer
what we
capacity.
need yet.
I
If
think
you
he
need
can
a
do
full
it.
measure, you know, the,
He can do it.
the
Ain't
consultant,
worried about him.
if you need a full measure, the consultant's going to have to go out and eyeball and measure every property in this county, every building, and, you know, that's more involved, and, you know, it's a major undertaking.
So you're saying the measurements we have aren't,
Well,
they
the
have
full
to be
measure
verified.
takes care of things.
Uh-huh.
If we have not been updating and putting all the new properties into our current system as we should, and I don't know if we have or not, hopefully we have, but
we should have.
when you haven't done that, you have to have a full measure where they go out and check out every parcel and every building, every house.
Well, this is the part where we can get it caught up and do in-house, because this is what we're supposed to be doing anyway.
Well, once you get your new system,
None of that
Call
in-house.
the question.
Been down that road.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I got one, and I don't know how this is going to affect things, but
Should do that.
the property
They should, but
values
they
are
can't. No.
beginning to come up right now. I don't know how a reevaluation is going to help us right now. I'm just being the devil's advocate right now, but if the property values continue to come up, and then we have a reval and they lower the property values, then we're in the same situation what we were before, so to speak. You know.
It's just that we'll be short.
Let me,
You got fairness issues is the reason
Yeah,
you're doing a
just
reval.
fairness.
Fairness.
I mean, if you do a reval and you lower the price of someone's property and the current value goes up as real estate goes up, what are we doing?
Yeah, but you've had some major shifts here when the reval was
understand.
done. It's gone from the preponderance, the people that are getting off easy are on the split. The shift was that the people on personal property paying a lot less personal property tax than the real estate people were. That was a shift that was done the last time, but you got to ask yourself, why do you do a reval anyway? You do it for fairness. You do it because the system has been skewed, and the state says the longer you can go is 8 years because of the change in values. And everybody knows that our values are not correct. So you're doing a reval for fairness to the taxpayers, to the people that are getting abused.
yeah, and let me say, you're talking about the values going up, and we may be missing each other on semantics here, but with the values going up, clearly they're going up some. They're not going up that much. But what they're doing is we're getting more comparables. And we still need to look at the values of the property that was for sales because of the sheer abundance of them.
Right, I agree with that. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like this motion to be tabled until Bobby Parker presents some data in relation to the sales in Beaufort County.
Well, he did that last meeting.
He's
No,
done
he
that,
did not.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Parker's done this for the last 3 meetings. He keeps insisting that the state of North Carolina is correct. He's going to come in here and tell you that we value in properties at 101% of their value. That is true, but we're valuing a $180,000 lot that will only sell on the street tomorrow for $30,000 for $180,000. This is the problem with the system now. The system is corrupt as it stands today. We're talking about fairness for people, not a corrupt system that is some accounting yin-yang out there. And Al, you know he's going to give you that answer if you've been awake in these meetings because you've heard him give that to you for the last 3 meetings.
All right, let's all right,
hold,
we have a motion.
Let's hold on.
Let me see if there's a second, and we can just, all right, we have a second now. Is there any further discussion on Al's motion?
Al's
Whoa.
I want to table until Bobby presents some recent sales data, what properties are selling at presently in Beaufort County.
Does that require a second? I didn't hear a second.
It is.
I will. My motion. I will allow my motion to include the table, providing we bring it up as soon as you get the data at the next meeting.
Drawing hairs.
That's a red herring.
Yeah, you drawing hairs.
That's the whole problem that we have on tax collections now, is Bobby comes in here and says, gives his little spiel, but he doesn't bother to tell you, what he tells you is we're taxing people at what it's valued at on the tax rolls from the last thing. That's why he's 101%. If you go out here and try to sell that same piece of property, you're not going to get up but about 40% of what the tax rolls say it's worth. We're talking about the fraud in the tax system.
Yeah, the tax system is completely wrong, and Bobby even admitted himself that we have a preponderance of sales that are for sales. I mean, he admitted that at the last meeting. I mean, Al, if we bring him in, I'm going to be beating him up real hard.
He won't want to come in front of me.
No, and what you're going to do, you're going to put him in that position. I don't have a problem with that if you don't have a problem with
I don't have
that.
a
Where the
problem.
problem is that you take what he gives us as real. When we've sat in these meetings year after year and seen what is real.
I want him to present real sales data.
He's not
He's
going to be able to
presented
do
them
that.
every month.
He does that, but
He's presented them every month, Al. This is another one of your red herrings.
He's not
But
gonna-
I'm
No,
going
he
along with
doesn't.
Stan. If you want to bring him in here and let us take him apart and put him back together, bring him on.
I mean, I haven't really put it on him yet. I'll put it on him next
All right,
meeting.
this is.
You want me to?
We'll go around in circles.
It's a line tax system.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the
What
motion?
is the motion?
Is your motion to
The
motion
table.
the table?
Yeah, if you have to do that, I'll go along with it. I mean, but
No, I'm
not-
voting for it.
All in favor of tabling, raise your right hand.
I'm not.
All opposed.
You voted to table your own motion.
Listen,
How the hell do you expect me to support you?
because
Give me a break.
because simply these guys, I don't want these guys to say that we brought it up, we're not going to bring it up again, and
You've
then
been
we're stuck.
you've been sucked into their system.
Well, it is their system.
Beat him, Hood.
Gosh.
All right, your items, Commissioner Richardson.
Don't worry, Hood. If you have a good item, I'll vote.
Sucking eggs.
Boy, this is an unusual board, I can tell you that.
Black Bear thing.
All right. Monthly jail reports, list of persons on pretrial and other releases, list of persons on house arrest. And then there's the jail report, and I'm going to ask Ms. Ross if she can, as I understand it, we don't have any of these reports. Could you come to the microphone? As I understand it, we do not have any of these reports.
Yes, we have the reports.
Where are they?
You should have them. You requested the reports, the jail monthly reports. For me to send them over to you again would have been just repetitive. It's the same thing. They don't create new until the new month starts, and today is the first.
All right.
So for me to send it back over here, you would have gotten the same thing.
That report, well, today is the first, so when did it end? It ended on June the 30th, last night?
12 o'clock.
Oh, so you couldn't get us the reports. We don't have the reports that are due. That's as I understand it. You do these reports monthly that you send us?
Yes, sir. The ones that go to Raleigh,
They're only done once a month.
the ones that go to Raleigh are done once a month,
All right.
at the end of every month.
Well, we can dispense with this part because the sheriff has failed to provide us with the reports. Next item is Black Bear Management. The resolution that is in your book was sent to me by Commissioner Byrd from Hyde County, and he's been after me now for about 2 months to deal with this thing, so we have it on the agenda. Basically, what it comes down to is there's a bill in the legislature that says wants to take the regulation of the number of black bear that can be killed each year away from the legislature, which is doing this by legislation, and put it in the hands of the Wildlife Commission. Black bear hunting would be regulated just like deer hunting is regulated, where the state decides each year, based on, populations, how many should be killed by hunters during that particular year. There are also issues that involve hunting bear over bait, and that would be dealt with by the legislature. There are issues that have to do with black bear destroying crops, and that would be dealt with by the Wildlife Commission instead of the legislature. So we really have this, there's only about 3 or 4 counties in North Carolina, as I understand it, that would be affected by this legislation, and that's Beaufort, Hyde, Terrell, maybe Pamlico, and this is a request from the Hyde County Commissioners who have passed this resolution that Beaufort County get on board. Several other counties have gotten on board and passed this as a resolution. So it's a little bit cryptic as to what the resolution says when you read it, but I've given you the short version of why they would like it passed. Basically, you would go buy a stamp in order to kill a bear, and when you kill a bear, you would use that stamp and you would still tag it. But the number and the methodology would be set by the Wildlife Commission instead of the legislature. And I make that as a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I did.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry.
Okay, discussion.
I wouldn't have know I was supporting.
Oh,
You just trying to get back in business.
Yeah, he ain't never going to forgive you for that.
Randall,
Yes, sir.
He sounds almost like some of our federal senators.
I've been told that there's
I'm
some
on
objections from the hunters in relation to moving it out of the legislature.
I did receive a call today advising that there's, from the alternate perspective on this issue, that states that they prefer to leave it in the hands of the General Assembly as opposed to delegating it to the Wildlife Commission, and they feel that it's best kept the way it is, but that's just...
Who was that was taking that side? Commissioner Deathridge was telling me how much he loves me.
I was being rather effusive.
That would have been Mr. McLeese that called me today.
Oh, McLeese.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's his perspective on it, and
Can we get further input and table it till next meeting?
It's
What's
basically,
this tabling thing?
Hey, what's now? You got a new word.
basically the hunters who
I want to do the
wanted
right
to
thing
take in the
in
other
relation
town.
to it.
I as well would like to know more about this before we actually
Yeah,
deal with it, because Hood, you said it best. It's a bit cryptic. So
it is cryptic.
All right. Well, you guys have at it then. I've done my job.
Well, we're not going to bring anybody for you to beat up. So.
That's next meeting.
That's the next meeting.
So I'll make a motion that we table it till next meeting, and we can deal with it then. We can get some more information on it.
So moved.
Yeah.
Okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? 6-1. You fulfill your obligation to Commissioner Bergen, and I know him.
All right. The next item on the agenda. Oh yeah. Yeah, list of personal support. Oh, request vote to. Oh yeah. We keep talking about this jail, and more commissioners should spend more time in jail. The sheriff has thrown me out 2 times in one day.
Keep you, Hood.
He doesn't really want you in there at all, because you might see what's really going on and get familiar with the place. But before prisoners are put back in the jail, and after the work is complete, I make a motion to the commissioners that the commissioners inspect, those that want to, inspect the jail before the prisoners are put back into the jail. And I think this is an important item myself. It's important for us. So that is my motion.
You talking about inspecting the entire jail?
Do the walkthrough, yeah. While there's no prisoners there.
Does that include the equipment room?
Anything you want to see. Inspect the jail means inspect the jail.
Mr. Richardson, I don't have a bit of problem in the world with you going down there if they'll let you down there, but I don't want to go.
Well, I'm just asking
I don't have a problem if you want to go.
I'm just asking the commissioners, those that want to go, to vote for us to inspect the jail, because otherwise all you're going to get to do is listen to the sheriff, and I found him to be very unreliable.
I won't second that motion, Hood, because I would like to see what it looks like after we make the repairs.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
That was anybody that wanted to go.
Anybody wants to go? Yeah, for commissioners, yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? All right, 7-0. The next item.
All right. The next item is a discussion of a change in personnel policy, and I'll be making a motion at the meeting next month, but I wanted people to have time to think about this. Several times, I've been a commissioner, keep in mind, for 17 years. I know of cases where individual personnel of the government within Beaufort County, I chose my words carefully, within Beaufort County have used the email system to send out items during hot political campaigns for whatever, whether it's an election year or whether it's another issue that involves the budget or whatever, that government employees have used our computer systems to send out emails in order to drum up the appearance of their fellow workers and the public. And they've sent out some inflammatory and some untrue things. Now, the manager assures me that within our personnel policy that there is already adequate provision that if someone does this and they're caught doing it, for them to be punished. But I've brought this item up myself several times during my career as a commissioner, and nothing has ever been done about it. Now, while I agree with him that the wording is there, I want more specific wording of the order of what I just said, that if you're an employee and you use the property of the county in an illegal way, that you are going to be punished for it if you're accused and proven. It's been proven that you have done this. Because I think we've got a lot of employees who feel like this is their property and they're doing with it as they please.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I might add that we are in the process of starting a committee to review our current personnel policy and to update it. There's a number of things that need to be updated and modernized, so this could be added to the list on one item to strengthen it if you would like.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, providing it's stated clearly. I mean, I agree with you that it's stated in there, but it needs to be stated clearly because we've got a lot of employees who, quite frankly, don't understand that that's not their property and they can't use it as their personal property.
I'd like to say one thing.
We had the same thing during the hospital debacle.
Yeah, and this is pursuant a little bit. Hood's talking about the hospital, which was not a government agency, but was partially funded by the government. Now, how about the school system? The school system is funded by the county in a very, very large way. Would anything we have pertain to the school system? Because the school system is
They have their own personnel policy.
Well, but what I would like to do as a part of this, it's stated in here, I think that we are within our rights to any agency that we fund to ask that agency to provide the same policy. And if there's a violation there because they're using county money, then I think that we can certainly put some pressure on them and in order to, because what they're doing is illegal. And it's been going on in Beaufort County for a long time.
Violations are.
It is kind of illegal.
Well, I sent out an email and say, everybody please come to the budget meeting on Thursday night to keep our budget from being cut.
No, it's been worse than that, Hood.
Has it? You got better examples now.
I mean, there's been certain emails done in the past for the children, these for the children emails, and specifically vote against this commissioner or that commissioner, and the effect of which was we need to. I'm using my words because I see it my way, but we need to continue bad policy to build more schools we don't need because if we don't get rid of these commissioners, this is going to happen. Now, we're doing this on emails that were sent through the school system. Now, they broke a lot of federal laws when they did that. I mean, forget county ordinances or state laws. They broke federal laws when they were doing this. We need to ask them very matter-of-factly if they want to continue to get an abundance of funding that they stop doing this. And I haven't seen it lately, but at one time they were very bad at doing this when they were marching for the children or whatever they did.
Well, I'm just putting out notice that if you know, once there will be lawsuits if I see this happening again.
But you said this is for
You're gonna get
next month, right?
Yeah, we need to, well, we don't have to do it next month if we take the manager's suggestion that it become a part of the rework of the personnel policy.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem if he wants to do that, but I want it clearly stated in there what's going on. I don't want some cryptic language that we have to interpret, because most of these people that are doing it couldn't interpret it if they had to.
All
Mr.
right, your next
Chairman,
item.
can I ask, can I ask the
You
question?
go ahead.
I would wonder if there's any case law that applies to this. I talked to you about that the other day. And,
No.
I was wondering if either one of our attorneys know, like, for example, if the personnel director of the Beaufort County Schools sends out a email to all employees saying the county commissioners will be having their public hearing on funding for the schools tonight. If you feel so inclined, please come and support the school's budget. Is that illegal?
That's political.
Well, that's what I'm asking the attorney right now.
You can find that. You can get that from the city
I
government.
have no answer other than probably a lot of citations and a lot of cases have come up similar to what you just asked. Mr. Belcher, they've probably been ruled both ways. So probably anything that really defines it, I don't think you're going to be able to.
You got any case law on it?
I think it can be regulated in personnel policy. I know some states have a kind of an overall agency that would regulate political type emails and things like that. And there are cases where employees were brought up literally on charges for sending something like that on. And I don't feel they were upheld because they were in the nature of non-public. The email system, internal email system is a non-public system, and it was in violation
Of that?
I do know,
ordinance. So, I mean, it can be regulated, to answer your question.
I do know we have some employees in the county that are regulated under the State Personnel Act. And under the State Personnel Act, that is a violation if you use your computer or any other your work-issued equipment for political reasons. Not only political reasons, you're not even supposed to send nothing across the email that don't pertain to your job. So I don't know what that effect is in the county, but I do know if you're regulated under the State Personnel Act, you're not supposed to play with those computers.
So what they would have to do, in effect, is go home and use their own personal computer to send out that political speech, but they would not have any problem sending it to a government computer. I mean,
But they need not download the email list at work and go home and use it, because if they get caught, that's the same thing.
Yeah, they'd have to prove that they assimilated their own list, and there's so many forensic ways to really gauge whether they did or not. They need to be careful on how they
is
assimilate
that true,
their
or is the
list.
email list public record?
No,
Email list.
it's public
No,
record
it's
for school
public record.
purposes.
But when you download it on a disk and take it and use it in a way like that, that's illegal. That's dishonest.
Yeah, there's forensic ways that account for all
All right.
that.
No,
We go ahead and do
I'd
it.
ask the attorneys again. I can't trust Dan and Hood to be my reference on this.
You can't steal data at work and take it home
No,
and
you
use
can't
it.
do
That's
that.
thievery. As simple as
Not if it's
that.
public record. You
No, it's not a public record. It's a public record when you get it on the email and you look and see all these people on there and you want to sit down at your computer and you type it out and reconstitute it. But if you steal it from your employer,
dump it.
that is called theft.
I think I can go to the school system and say to the school system, I would like the email of every employee. As a private citizen, I would like to have the email address of all of your employees. That's a public record. They have to give it to me.
I don't think they do.
They do.
I don't think they have to give it to you in a
Somebody
way
did.
that you can use it
I bet
in
Sharon Singleton
that way. They can give it to you.
Are correct. That's it.
I am correct. So,
Well,
Anyway, we've decided.
what's the
that we-
difference
find that
between
out
using
then
the
from
school
the attorney.
computer
there's
or
plenty of law on this. What
taking
I-
my own laptop to school and plugging it in and doing it because I'm using the school's electricity?
Get ready to
All
learn
right,
some
we
lessons,
decided
guys.
that he's going to do it through the Personnel Act. Let's move on. Let's go to the toilets.
Oh, yeah, the toilets. Look, one of the things that was discovered when we inspected the jail the last time the sheriff would allow us in there was that there were several toilets in the jail that were not working properly, and that there was one shower had been sitting there with the hot water running for at least 3 weeks that we know of, without a shower head on it, and that you could not turn the hot water off on this particular shower. This had been going on for some time. And one of the things that I have asked for so that we can make sure it's fixed before we reopen the jail and we inspect it, so that we're all starting on a level playing field and we don't have to hear this business of, I asked for somebody to do this, but it never got done. Well, did you call them back? No. We only asked them one time, and that was in 1947. We don't need to keep going through this stuff. So I asked for a list of this, and guess what I found out? Engineers are toilet monitors, because the chief deputy comes back on behalf of Alan Jordan, which Alan won't even bother to even come in here and speak with us, and he says...
you know that'd be poison. You know that.
I know it, and I said it, and I meant for it to be. You think I'm saying these things because I'm stupid? I'm saying them deliberately. Blah, blah, blah.
The way you got the toilet thing written up here, Hood, you're talking about all toilets within all the county facilities?
No, the request was made to the jail, Al. A little bit of common sense tells you we don't expect them to go over to social services and check the toilets.
It doesn't say anything about jail on here.
All right, go forward.
I'm not going to degrade myself by arguing with you. Let's see. I'm looking for something in this memo. Give me just a second.
Don't do that.
Wake up.
That's contagious.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Addendum,
That's everything on the list.
on your addendum, item 33.
What's that? It's
Yeah, but I'm looking for the right sentence. I don't want to read the whole thing.
They need that gas here want to take our place. Mr. Green.
Well, it must be in the first paragraph, because that's the only one I haven't read.
It's always the last one.
Well, somewhere in this email, I can't find it right now. In responding to the request for the count on the number of toilets and the number of showers that are not working properly, the chief deputy says that we should ask the engineer. So, we really didn't hire the engineer to be a toilet monitor. That's something that whoever's in charge of the jail should know.
I didn't say engineer, I said public works director.
She's an engineer, in case you didn't know. She's the public works director, but she's an engineer. We pay her based on her engineering ability. And that's why she's an engineer, and her job is not to check toilets. That is your job.
You're wrong.
Oh,
All right.
really?
All right.
Then somebody needs to straighten me out.
Okay.
Now, that we should ask the Public Works Director about this particular item. That the Public Works Director is not in the jail every day, and we don't expect her to do this. It's another example of the lack of cooperation between the Sheriff's Department and anybody that they need to cooperate with. It is very significant that Alan Jordan will not, during these times when he's screaming that the world is coming to the end, even bother to make a personal appearance in front of the county commissioners. The email that was sent is really an email that spends an awful lot of time attacking me rather than getting to the heart of the problem with the jail. So I see you're at the podium, so you must have something to report on toilets.
I do. I have a toilet count for you.
All right.
In all, we have 35 toilets in the jail and the actual confinement part. These structures, for those of you that do not care to go visit the jail, are multi-purpose units. They are one-piece stainless steel units that contain both the toilet, a sink, as well as a bubbler. And they are configured so that the two do not mix. So the bubbler is hygienic when it's there.
Is it a bidet, like a bidet?
There is not a bidet. There's not supposed to be a bidet if the toilet's functioning properly. If it's not functioning properly, you may have one. But there are 35 total units there. When we had the relocation of the inmates, one of the things that we have worked to do is to take care of as many facility maintenance issues that we can while the inmates have been removed. So at that point, the plumber did come in. There were quite a few issues there, and I understand I can't speak to what's happened in the past. I can only speak to what we are trying to correct at this point in time. There were quite a few issues, and there have been issues regarding the parts for the toilets and the showers. One of the points that was brought up when we were talking about painting the jail, it was the amount of humidity that was in the jail. That is when I first became aware of some of the issues with the showers. So in an effort to try to minimize the amount of steam that's in the facility, we were looking at repairing the showers. Speaking with the plumber who's done plumbing work in the jail for well over 10 years, that it's a continual problem, and he had always told me that, and to be honest, I really didn't grasp the severity of it. But on June the 18th, the plumbers had spent about a day and a half or 2 days working in the facility, and on June the 18th, Lieutenant Thompson as well as the plumber walked around and did a survey of all of the toilets, and at that time all of the toilets were functioning properly. Hot and cold water worked, the bubblers worked, the pressure was okay. When I saw the item on the agenda asking for a status update, Lieutenant Thompson went back through again today and did a second survey of the toilets. And when a survey, we've got a nice little sheet here where you can check it off. There are now 8 sinks and toilets that something is not right on, whether it be the hot water is not functioning properly or the pressure in the bubbler, something's not exactly working as it should there. And that's been since June 18th when there have been no inmates there. So the only thing that's really happened is some of the jailers may have, cleaning the floors, bumping into it, or something like that. So they're very sensitive. And talking back with the plumber, we are limited with the type of diaphragm assemblies that we can use because of the way the plumbing is run, because it's in the basement. So the plumbing is coming in through the slab, coming up. The cells are through concrete walls. So it's not a simple task to go in and to realign your plumbing, to have to core drill and that type of thing. So he has limited parts that he can use. These parts are fairly expensive for what they are because of the age and trying to match your existing system. So in years past, it's my understanding that ordering parts has been very limited to just making sure you order what you need to make the repairs. So there has not been a stockpile of parts. But at the current time, we have ordered all parts to make all showers as well as toilets functioning. They have they've got about a 3 to 4 lead time on them because they are more specialized parts because they're not readily available. They are scheduled to be delivered to the Plumbing Supply House in Greenville on July 10th. So at that time, they will come back in to fix the showers. There are 4 showers right now that are currently not operating as they should.
Have we ordered enough to have an inventory?
We've ordered enough to have a few extra, but we were waiting to get into the new budget year to place the other orders. But we will, the plan is to stockpile parts, not a huge number, but at least so that if there is a problem. And we've had the discussion. I've worked with the jail staff that we now need, and there needs to be a new normal of repairing things when they need to be repaired. And I've also spoken with the contractor about that.
How much money you spent so far on it?
Were they cleaning?
I do not have that number.
You don't have it?
I do know, I can give you these numbers just to give you a little idea. The diaphragm assemblies for the showers are $840 a piece.
Lord, how much?
$840.
For how many? One each?
One.
$840.
$840.
Now that's everything. That's the valve and everything, the assembly.
I have one in the back office that I brought in to show you, but I left it in my laptop bag.
But once we get back to normal, we could take a look
New and improved normal.
refitting some of that.
We possibly can, and actually speaking with the plumber, he said about 8 years ago there was some type of research done on that, and just based on the cost, it was a better choice to continue with the parts as is, not to go back in and to replumb.
Yeah, I think we ought to take another look at it when we get back to normal.
Yep.
Okay. I got a question. The inmates are not there right now. Right now it's time to fix this stuff.
Yeah, that's what she's doing.
That's what I'm,
Yeah, I mean, but I'm talking about.
On
the
June the
normal.
18th, it worked.
We need to make normal right now and talk about it. And if we have to approve funding to get this taken care of.
Well, we're
The
going to
shoulders aren't that wide.
Well, yeah, let these people get these prisoners back in, and then let's start talking about some of that stuff. They've got all they can do. She's got
It's
all
not
she
a
can do.
quick fix. It's really, it's not a quick fix. If you walk through the jails, ask them to open up the plumbing chases that are located behind the cells. Take a look at the tight confines and take a look at the plumbing that runs in there. It is not an easy task to go in and to replumb that facility. It's a basement in a jail with concrete walls.
Doesn't mean it can't be done.
Exactly, but
You
it's
need
not
to-
easy.
don't need. This is something you don't need to work on until you don't have hardly anything else to do, because innovation is going to carry the day, and you can't innovate when you're under pressure.
Yes. Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, I think the next item belongs to me, and that is a smoking policy. And certainly the commissioners can expound or take away from any way they want to, but my main driver is that the entrances to the county buildings, people standing there smoking, and people who don't really care for cigarette smoke has to walk through a cloud of smoke to come into the building. So what I'm proposing is to have a 50-foot setback. There'll be no smoking 50 feet from the main entrances of any county buildings. I've had some other folk tell me we should ban smoking on county property, period. And I had another suggestion to me that there not be smoking in any county vehicles. But that's for the discussion for the board. My main concern right now is making sure that there is no smoking standing outside of the entrances to county buildings. And I'll hear what everybody else has to
I got
say.
a question.
Yes, sir.
I don't know the answer to this, and it's been a while since I've been involved in it. But when you said no smoking in any county buildings, at one time, and I don't know what the regulation is now, at one time when you made those policies, you had to provide a smoking area for your employees. Has that changed?
You're not required to provide any smoking shelter or anything. The law doesn't. I've confirmed that you're not required to do that.
It's too bad. We used to, in the olden days, you had a smoking tree out at the high school.
You had to,
We ought to have a tree out.
You ought to know Stan was there.
Oh man, I was hell and fed. You would never catch me smoking unless it was a little wacky.
I don't have a problem with people that smoke. I quit 35 years ago, but, I mean, who's active, a lot of people have complained about that.
Oh, yes. A whole lot. Whole lot.
It creates a lot of cleanup, especially in front of the courthouse, in that area where there's so many folks congregating there on a daily basis. There's butts and debris thrown out there everywhere.
Yeah.
We're trying to clean up the facilities and make them look better. We could spend a fortune in nice landscaping down there in front of the building, and it would just be, in 2 weeks' time, it would be full of cigarette butts down there.
Well, see, one of the other things that I've seen is they've actually put the ashtrays out there, and people stand right beside the ashtray and then pluck them out.
Yeah.
The ashtray is right beside them. They will not use the ashtray, but they'll pluck it out on the lawn. And the other thing is when people walk through, if they're talking and smoking, if you're walking through, they will and blow it right on you while you're walking through.
Are you making that in a form of a motion?
That's my motion, then.
I'll second that.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Years ago, back when Beaufort County was a tobacco county where we grew tobacco, and it was a big part of our industry, I think we would have been very unwise to even be talking about this right now. But a lot's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't make money on tobacco in Beaufort County anymore. I mean, there's no tobacco warehouses. There's few tobacco farmers. I saw in some of the lists that Hood have, one of them used to be one of the biggest tobacco farmers is in bankruptcy. So it was told to me. I mean, it's not part of our industry anymore. Secondly, fewer and fewer people smoke cigarettes, and we're finding that younger people are smoking more now. And there really doesn't need to be that acceptance factor for younger people to smoke because it's such a terrible thing to get started on in life. It really is. So whereas 15 years ago I would have said, I ain't going to vote for this, I'll vote for it now.
Thanks.
Who's going to enforce?
That was my question.
This smoking area?
Good question.
Excuse me, I'd say it would be added into for county employees, it would become a part of the personnel policy, and for the public, it would become an ordinance.
Yeah.
And it would be enforced like every other ordinance.
I don't have a problem. Like, I'm gonna vote for it too, but I had the same concerns. I mean, we set laws and regulations, and folks go crazy. They fill up the jailhouse with smokers now.
Yeah.
No, I think this is not going to be a misdemeanor, I pray.
I think, and I think what we need to do, that's if it passes, is instead of just implement it right now, we can set it out 60 days, 90 days to get people to prepare their mindset to get used to that you cannot smoke here around this door anymore, so they can make the adjustments and whatever time frame we say that it begins, then from that day forward we will.
And you said that was 50 foot, right?
Right.
We need to set the smoking tree further out.
I've been standing in the middle of the street.
I think it'd also be wise to request that the health department provide a smoking cessation program for any county employees to participate in, if it's 30 minutes or an hour-long program, so they can feel like we're supporting them, because it's a major undertaking, as we know, for people to stop smoking if they've been doing it for years. So this is, if we can give them 90 days, implement it October 1st or whatever y'all decide to, and provide some type of smoking cessation, which has been done here in the past, is my understanding, when it was implemented at the health department. So I think if you do that, that would be a way to support the current staff that are smokers, and to let it be a gradual thing, to give them time just to think about it, because people are going to be mad about it the first 2 or 3 weeks as they think about it. Then after that, they'll gradually start to come around and realize, this time they're going to have to deal with it and accept it.
And I'll be the villain.
Yeah. No more smoking if you got them.
All right. We have a motion, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 6-1.
Who opposed to it?
Commissioner Richard. He's a libertarian.
Yeah, I am too, but, secondhand smoke is not a libertarian
Well, I
issue.
agree with everything y'all said. I just voted against it because we're getting more and more in excessive regulation. You're right, it was a libertarian vote.
Yeah.
Is October 1st okay for an effective?
Is that fine with everybody? October 1st?
And I wish you would put some kind of, I know we passed it and I voted for it, but I wish we would put some kind of enforcement method in. Let me tell you something. I hadn't seen an ordinance or bill or nothing passed yet that wasn't abused.
But I'd say I wouldn't vote for it if you started putting some kind of a.
You've already voted for it. It's too late.
Not for an enforcement measure. There's no enforcement measure.
I think we ought to put a sign.
moving the smoking tree out. That's all
Just
we're
let
doing.
people know as of October the
We'll
1st,
have
this will be a
signage,
no
we'll
smoking.
have signage
Yeah.
everywhere, and all county buildings will be new signage.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can still smoke. They just can't smoke where they used to smoke.
Yeah, 50 feet from the door. That's all it is. They still smoke.
It's excessive regulation.
I say we plant a smoking tree.
Why don't you just pass an ordinance and ban smoking if you want to solve this problem?
Well, you can't. That would be a non-libertarian thing to do, Hood.
Well, you have to look at it other ways too, that, in some departments, you might have county employees that take 2 or 3 smoking breaks the first half of the day and 2 or 3 smoking breaks the second half of the day, or more.
You do have.
So, it's time for them to pull back a little bit and try to wean themselves off of it.
I can think of some employees who are going to be unhappy now that you mentioned this.
That's what I said. I'm going to be the villain.
Well, there is.
Some of them I'm really good friends with, but they're going to be mad with me for a while.
But we do have a cafeteria plan for our health insurance, and it's to everybody's benefit that there's less smoking.
All right. Christina, you're back.
Why don't we stop them from drinking?
So we should talk over meat.
Yeah.
Yes. No. We're doing your item with the, since you got your electrical engineer here, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. Yes, I'm back. For an update on the status of the courthouse building systems, and what I have is a PowerPoint presentation because I was unable to meet the agenda deadline and also unable to complete this until just a few hours.
Which lights do we get? That would be nice to Is it this, the one up here, I think?
Over there.
Right there.
A few hours ago. So I wanted to give you at least something to look at, that we could all look at it together to try to stay on task. Jim is going to be operating over there. First slide. Current issues, and what I've done, basically, I've divided the courthouse building systems update into these 4 issues, and I believe the last email that you gentlemen saw from me had 3 items, so there is an additional item that's added here, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But the first one is providing emergency power to the essential systems of the jail. As from conversations that you know, that's regarding the generator, backup, standby power versus emergency power. Second one is evaluation of the courthouse switchgear. Once again, the 40-year-old switchgear that provides power to the basement level as well as the first level and second level of the courthouse. So that does not just affect the jail, but also the clerk of court, register of deeds, and courtrooms. Third item is returning the dryer to service. And fourth item is evaluation of a smoke evacuation system. This is something that I realize today may be new to some of you. I'm not sure about that. This is an item that I believe was discussed many years ago, but has not been something that's been revisited recently. But that is an item that Mr. Woodruff and I discussed with Judge Sermons in his chambers. So that is an item that he asked us to investigate. Next item, Jim. The county has retained the services of Engineering Source of North Carolina to complete an analysis of the various systems of the courthouse and to provide recommendations. This is something that has occurred since our last update. Mr. Wilson Pugh is here tonight to give an update and to answer questions that you may have. He is also working with Mr. Winston Azell, who is an electrical engineer who is doing a lot of the legwork for this. When we had the issue, immediately I began making phone calls to different engineering firms, and I was led to Engineering Source by a reputable electrical contractor. I had also been familiar with Mr. Pugh's work, and also I'd received good recommendations from local building officials regarding Mr. Pugh. Next item, providing emergency power to the essential systems of the jail. This is the main task that we have, which is regarding the generator. The generator that's located to the west side of the courthouse was providing only standby power, not emergency power. Speaking with Mr. Pugh, and he's been working on this really diligently for the past few days, and like I said, we're just getting the information, and I sincerely wish your meeting had been on Wednesday instead of on Monday night, and I would have had more definitive information for you. So I just ask that you understand where we are in this process, that they are currently researching different options, coming up and trying to strike a balance between time and money to figure out the best solution for us. It was not a clear-cut decision. From a facility standpoint, Engineering Source has recommended that a separate generator be utilized to provide emergency power to the essential systems of the jail. Basically, a smaller generator that would be placed in the parking lot behind the facility that would be more similar to what was in place at the courthouse when the courthouse was originally constructed. There are a lot of positives to doing that. There would be redundancy. It would be a smaller generator, simpler controls that would be utilized to work that generator. However, if returning the inmates immediately is the top priority, then it may be more beneficial to utilize the existing standby generator. And I realize it sounds like I'm talking in circles, and unfortunately at this point I sort of am. We're still analyzing. We have the quote from the existing standby generator company. If you remember, that generator, we are under contract with Power Secure as a peak savings generator, but we are under court order not to operate it as a peak savings generator. So in order to tie onto that generator, there's some other legalities that need to be ironed out. So there are some potential pitfalls with doing that.
guess all those savings are pretty much out the window at this point.
Can't take a peek.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm looking at it from a larger sense.
Larger sense, too.
Within the next few days, Engineering Source will be preparing a formal cost comparison so that we can evaluate and determine the appropriate path forward. And Mr. Pugh is, like I said, he's here today, and he has numbers that he can give to you and respond to questions. But let me get through this. And then at that point, once we determine the best path forward, then the plans will need to be developed and submitted to the Department of Health and Human Services. At this point, it's very difficult for me to give you a timeline because it depends on which generator is the best option. Procurement and installation, I do plan to do that concurrently with the DHS review so that installation can start as soon as we receive the approval from DHS. Understanding that if we do that, there may be a potential change order for any changes that the Department of Health and Human Services would require. Let's go to the next slide, Jim, before we open it to questions. Evaluation of the courthouse switchgear. CBS Nuclear Services is a firm located in Matthews, North Carolina. They are familiar with Federal Pacific medium voltage switchgear, which is a rarity. Engineering Source has communicated with them, and they are tentatively scheduled for either next Tuesday or next Wednesday. Yes, sir.
Isn't Federal Pacific out of business?
Yeah,
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
Yes.
30 years now.
Yeah.
At least 20.
There is still a company that's called Federal Pacific, but they deal with low voltage, not medium voltage. Is that correct? That's what I've been told from. If you Google Federal Pacific, you will get a rep. That was I actually spoke with a rep in Garner, but they do not deal with medium voltage switchgear. There was a buyout back in the 80s or something, I believe.
And nobody really picked up the mantle and are making their equipment, comparable equipment.
A lot of people make switchgear.
Right.
Yeah, but you got to put their stuff in.
But what we have tasked CBS Nuclear with is to come here and to look at our switchgear, to open it up to look at it. That hasn't been done in many years. If they're able to service it, and potentially they can service it. If they need to do some repair, they can repair, or if they need to replace a portion of, or if they just need to tell us that we need to investigate replacing the entire switchgear.
Are you talking about, it's like a panel?
It's a large panel. It's a large enclosure that's about 4 foot by
About as
7.
big as that
Yeah.
door.
Switchboard, but
Larger than the door.
It can be revamped. I mean, you could take it out, put a whole new system in.
Yes.
We need to know what that's going to cost. If that's
Yes, we do.
going to get those prisoners back in there.
Next item, Jim. Returning the dryer to service. This is actually the simplest of the 4 tasks. The dryer supplier has already visited the site and provided replacement parts for the problems that we had with the dryer. However, before we return that to service, because we've been notified that DHHS needs to approve any modifications, we will need to submit plans to them to modify the building systems before we put that dryer back into use. So I'm unsure of the exact timeline right now, but in speaking with the sheriff as well as the sheriff's staff, we can utilize a laundry service and bring the inmates back. So that is not a showstopper.
What are the repairs that were made to the dryer?
Replacing the heating element, replacing the wires.
Yeah, but they.
There was,
That's
basically
basically it.
replacing things that were damaged.
Yes,
That's it.
Yeah.
And the fuses,
like a-
and the housing that houses the fuses. Next item, Jim. Evaluation of the smoke evacuation system. Like I said earlier, this information was requested by Judge Sermons. Engineering Source will investigate the feasibility of installing a smoke evacuation system. Judge Sermons did not give us a directive on this as far as if it had to be done, when it had to be done. He was asking for information, so that is what we are working to provide to him.
What does the jail inspection people say about a smoke evacuation system?
I believe it's an item that's On
think
their
they
I
noted
think
it
for a
on
new
there.
facility, it would be required, but our facility is grandfathered in, and some things may not be required that are.
Find out what's required and what they say about it.
Right.
Probably required to have a certain amount of air changes in the facility, too.
And that's a summary of what I have for you. I've realized Commissioner Richardson had spoken and had asked for target dates, and I can give you some dates right now, but until we get a little bit more information, they would truly be estimates. But we are still looking. I'll let Wilson speak. He has more of the dates or the. But there is a difference between utilizing the existing generator versus a new generator.
Hi, my name is Wilson Pugh. I'm with Engineering Source, and just a little background on me. I've been a professional engineer since 1994 and have been in business on my own since 2000, and have been working all around eastern North Carolina, really from anywhere from Burlington east and mostly east of I-95, doing plumbing, HVAC, and electrical type systems. I got a call from Christina about a week to 10 days or so ago when we first started having the problems, and came out and initially just did a quick evaluation as to what we thought the problem was, and pretty much readily agreed that the dryer was what caused the cascading effect that caused us the problems. And then in looking at that, got to realizing that somewhere along the line when that standby generator was put in and they decommissioned the generator that was originally just servicing the jail, that we got into that situation where exactly what happened could happen, which is you could lose power to the jail without losing utility power, and you didn't have a backup since the generator was only coming on with a loss of utility power. And kind of made that report back to Christine, and then have kind of proceeded on, understanding that the county is in a situation where you're having to house inmates in other counties and trying to expedite information as best we can. But sometimes, getting information and phone calls and this time of year and people on vacation and people gone and just really trying to get all the information that we can pulled together to make it happen expeditiously. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the systems or what our recommendations are, or any kind of the numbers that we have at this point. Maybe that's the best way to go, is just start with questions rather than me just rambling.
Yeah,
Yes.
my number one question is simply, what is the quickest method to remedy the problem with the generator so that we can have power at all times?
Okay. My understanding from seeing the proposal that Power Secure had provided, they have stated in their proposal that they have the automatic transfer switch in-house, ready to go, and that they have the ability with in-house engineering staff to provide a design for doing that, and that they could do that, if I'm remembering correctly, turn the design around within a week and get the equipment, since it's in-house, installed within another week or two after that. And to me, that's going to be the quickest way for us to address this issue. Now, that has some other issues and some other problems associated with it, because of you've got a generator that's way oversized for what that particular purpose is intended to do. You've got a generator that we're not even sure meets current regulations as far as emissions and those kind of things from the air quality folks that are new regulations, but we believe that would still come into play on this generator.
Because it's a new use?
Not because it's a new use, but because, and this gets really wide-ranging, but generators were listed to have to meet certain emissions requirements. But then there was an exception within those requirements about if you were doing it for green technology, that you didn't have to meet certain of those regulations. And we believe that that's why when this generator was moved, if I'm remembering right, you guys had this generator and moved it from another facility over here? Is that right? Okay. That when it was moved...
It was kind of done and we didn't know about it.
Right. So that when it was moved, that it fell within having to meet those regulations, and that's why Power Secure promoted doing the hot water recovery on that, because that was a green technology, and that allowed them to use that generator even though it didn't meet the emissions requirements.
We got the green movement to thank for all of this to some small degree?
I think to some small degree, that as I understand it, that is the case.
Oh, boy.
So we're not 100% certain that we could even use that generator. We've tried to get in contact with, I can't remember her name, Miss Huddleston, and I think she's with the North Carolina Air Quality folks that are here in town, but she was on vacation until Wednesday, which with Thursday being 4th of July probably means till next week. And we've made several attempts to try and contact. I don't know. We can try.
Just kind of recovering, back in the mode, being a public employee.
We've left several messages with her and hope that she will return our call. But we will continue to try and get up with her. But that's our concern.
With her coworkers trying to get information, but she seems to be
the one that would have definitive answers. And
Are we stuck with this person?
If it meets the requirements, she should have record of that, and so that then we ought to know that this generator is okay to reuse. So I guess that's part of our concern, is that, and then as well as Christine had said earlier, you've already got some issue with Power Secure, and this is just going to further cement that relationship that seems a little rocky right now to start with. So from our standpoint, it really didn't make a whole lot of sense to go down that path, because when she was saying about the complication, what the code says is that you can use one generator for both purposes, both standby and emergency, but you have to have separate transfer switches for each, so that anything that's on the emergency has to be on its own transfer switch. And then that just requires controls that it'll start the generator if either one goes.
We don't have a transfer switch.
You do. You have one that is there for the whole building right now.
Yeah, but I mean segregated just for that one use.
That's correct. We don't currently have one tied to that generator. Now, you have a transfer switch that was put in when the original 50 kW generator was put in when the jail was built originally. Because when the jail was built originally, it had this service in it. It had a transfer switch and a smaller generator, a 50 kW generator, dedicated strictly to the jail. When they put the standby generator in, they decommissioned that. The thought process being, well, hey, we've got power generator for the whole courthouse. We don't have to do it just for the jail. But of course, as I said, what we found is if you lose power to the jail without losing power to the courthouse, you've lost your emergency backup to the jail. So that's what's at issue, is that we don't have emergency power to the jail, which has the systems of the door locks, the cameras, the fire alarms, the exit lights, the emergency lights, all of those things on it.
Wow.
So that we lost those items when we lost the jail, but we didn't lose the rest of the courthouse because we didn't lose the main switchgear. We didn't lose the main power.
I have another question, but I've been talking too much. Anybody else got something? I'll ask this question again if y'all don't ask it.
Go ahead, Stan, so we'll be done.
I mean, you guys might have something.
No, go ahead, Stan.
Okay. We have a problem that happened because we combined two uses into one, and we need to have a separate use, a generator just for the jail.
That's correct.
Now, what would it? Is this your idea? Is to leave this other generator alone with all the green technology?
Yes.
Stop that and just go with the separate generator for the jail, right?
Yes.
Are we going to have problems with Power Secure, or is that the group that okay, we're not going to have problems with them?
It would be after Power Secure's equipment.
Right. It would be after the fact, and also I think their whole contract with you was predicated on using it for peak shaving, and this has absolutely nothing to do with peak shaving.
Okay.
This is if we have an emergency in the jail, this generator comes on. And like I said, it's a code requirement, so it's not anything that they can have an issue with. I mean, it's
So what? Explain this to me. I may have missed something. What would stop us from just going with the new generator, going back to the way we had it just as soon as possible?
time. And we didn't talk about that, so I don't think you missed anything. Okay. But ordering a 50 kW generator, which was what was there before, so we know that that's the size that it
We
was
don't have
sized
the
for
old
originally.
generator anymore, do we?
You do actually have the old generator. It's still in the basement, but it's been sitting there for 20-something years, and
It needs an upgrade.
well, yeah. And not only that,
You only need to crank that
it's
thing.
the engine seized up. We did go in and try and get it to at least turn over. It wouldn't even turn over.
So we need a new generator.
So you need a new generator. And so, but the problem is to get a 50 kW generator is a 6 to 8 week lead time.
Did you size the generator that's in the
6 to 8
basement
weeks.
underneath her office?
I did not size it. It is a 45 kW generator.
Well, it will do it.
It's of an appropriate size. Now, our concern with that, we haven't written that out, and I just got the emails with the pictures and stuff from her over this weekend, so we haven't finished looking at that completely. But our biggest concerns for that is it's an interior generator, not an exterior, so that's going to require us to go inside somewhere, probably back in the basement where the existing one is.
do that.
But then you've got to pull all of that one out, and it just takes time. I think you'd lose the generator for the public utility at that point. That we think you'd probably have to end up replacing that at some point. But you may be willing to do that because it's not as time sensitive.
Well, this comes down to something. What is your estimate of the cost for the switch gear for Power Secure to come in, do their electrical diagrams, and install the transfer switch? Can it be done for $10,000?
No, they gave us a quote of $30,000.
And we have considered, I mean, we are trying to get this done as quickly as possible, even if we were to go in, if we did decide to go with a standalone generator for the jail, to go in and install the ATS, and then rent a generator for 2 to 3 weeks until we get our permanent generator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's thing.
So, I mean, we are investigating different things, but there are so many unknowns, things that can, that can just throw it
And,
off.
Well,
The interior, the enclosures.
you've got a risk in this that you haven't brought up with Power Secure. Power Secure was a contract that the former county manager signed without bringing to the county commissioners. So we did not know. I thought that it was a part of the contract that we had for saving electricity with, what was the name of that outfit? Schaefer? Snyder. And just didn't get involved in it. But the peak shaving on this, we won't know for 3 months whether or not we're going to have to abandon that whole deal and buy them out or not, because then we will know how much it's costing us to shut that generator down 5 days a week from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So you got a big if on that. Plus, there is the security of having a generator that's dedicated to the jail. You know, and my thought right now is that from what I've heard and what you guys have told us is that you're better off to rent a generator to back up the jail in emergency situations and go ahead and order a generator and put it in and do the thing right, if you will, because everything else looks cobbled up to me.
And that was certainly our position and what we recommended. Our biggest concern was the amount of time that it was going to take, and that's why in the
How long would it take to get a rented generator?
well, rent a generator, I think
3
we can
days.
rent. Yeah, that's not an issue.
4 hours.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue and
switchgear.
is
We did that.
well is no, not the switchgear, but is the automatic transfer switch. They say that when we talked to them today, they said that's probably a 4-week delay to get a transfer switch. But in talking to the electrician, he said he felt pretty sure he could get one within 2 weeks. So, you know, that's still that now. Even
That's going to be a permanent transfer switch. When you set that,
Yes.
you'll be able to go hook up the new generator
that's correct.
in the place of where the rented generator.
That's correct. And the other option, because like we said, we really are trying to look at this and try to minimize costs as much as we can. The existing automatic transfer switch is over 20-something years old, 25, 30 years old. But we don't know that it's bad.
Yeah.
There's no way, with the generator being dead, we can get an electrician out here to verify that with us. But in the time frame so far, we haven't been able to determine whether it's good. So in an ideal world, we could keep the existing automatic transfer switch, rent a generator, get them hooked up, and order the new generator, and then you'd be back up and running. Worst case scenario, we've got a 4-week lead time on an automatic transfer switch, and we can rent a generator for 3 or 4 weeks while the new one comes
I
out.
don't know about you guys, but this is easy for me. Do it
Yeah.
right, get it over with.
But are you saying don't go with use the switch we got now and use it?
No. I think he's just saying do the separate, and then
yeah,
whatever's
do
the
both.
best, whichever's the most cost-effective way we can do.
No,
When you say both, we're talking about renting a generator for backup, go ahead and order a new generator to go out mounted exterior outside the building and have a dedicated generator, and forget about Power Secure because
yeah, I'm
their
with you on
future
that.
with us is very uncertain.
well, you start talking green, it gets real weird.
Forget green.
Yeah, forget green.
Commissioner Brand.
You're saying, worst-case scenario, jail will be up and running in 4 weeks.
No.
2.
No, I'm saying worst-case scenario, we get the automatic transfer switch in 4 weeks.
Oh, we got to wait on them.
And we've got to get approval from DHHS for what we're proposing to do.
Give me your
and
best
then get it
estimate
installed.
of when we can put prisoners in the jail.
If we can do the design and get that to DHHS within, I think we had said by the 12th, 15th, and then DHHS has told her that they'll expedite it. Normally for us, that's a 2 to 4 week thing, but they've told her that they'll expedite it and get that turned around. So I think we were allowing 3 to 5 days for DHHS to respond to us.
So that's 3 weeks there.
And then the contractor would take a few weeks to get it in.
And we're talking about once we
2
pull the
weeks probably
trigger
to
on
install
this,
it.
we're talking about simultaneous execution. We're not waiting for one thing to happen and then do something else. We're talking about a simultaneous
That's
execution.
correct. We can verify that the existing transfer switch works or doesn't work. We can order the transfer switch. We can go ahead and get it here. And like I said, the electrician, he didn't get an actual quote from anybody that he could get it that fast, but he felt confident he could get it within 2 weeks.
Now, I can make a motion anytime y'all want it.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
So this will be a diesel-powered or propane?
Well, that's the other question that we need answered. A diesel generator will be less expensive and probably can get here faster. A propane or LP or natural gas will be a little more expensive and probably take longer to get here. The difference being that if you got natural gas or LP, as long as you've got the utility, it's hooked up, it's running. With diesel, you run out of fuel. It's a maintenance issue where you have to check it. And diesel fuel, just in general, is a dirtier fuel. But since it's only an emergency generator,
Yeah.
You're not putting enough hours on it to make any difference.
But the fuel needs to be where that you are 100% assured that you have fuel. I mean, if something were to happen to the natural gas line coming into town, then you would be without the generator.
Well,
Yeah.
we need to, yeah.
We can always get
you're-
diesel fuel.
You're right.
Yeah.
You can always get diesel fuel, and you can always get local service on most of these diesel engines, as far as changing filters, cleaning filters, and that kind of stuff.
and being candid, I hadn't looked into the application to a jail, but I do know from prior experience that in a hospital where you've got life safety required
Those are
systems,
usually diesel.
that's right, they have to be diesel. They cannot be tied to the natural gas because of the same thing. You cannot rely on two utilities.
You're right on it.
You made the motion, Commissioner Richardson?
I'll make a
Oh, wait,
motion.
wait, no, Mr. Kemp had a question.
what's your appraised condition of the switch gear? Can we continue to use it if the maintenance in the spring?
Okay, on the switchgear issue, we have talked to the CBC Nuclear in Matthews, and they are scheduled to be here next week. The switchgear itself, it's old. There doesn't seem to be anything exactly wrong with it, other than when it tripped, it was very difficult to reset. And so I guess the statement is, without opening up and seeing what's inside, I really don't know how to answer the question, but I believe that you're much better off getting it looked at and checked, and then once they get in there, they can tell us whether it's just so worn out that there's nothing they can do to it and it needs to be replaced, or whether they can refurbish it. This particular group does take, like what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll take the breakers and things out of this one, they'll take it back to their plant, and they'll refurbish them, and then they'll turn around and sell them to somebody else.
So we get a little kind of something out of it.
That we might get some salvage value out of it. I know from other...
They're hard to get, aren't they?
From,
But also remember that the part that we're getting new is probably a refurbished part.
It
Oh,
is.
that's cool.
Because they're
Oh,
not-
it's
they're
definitely a
not-
refurbished part. They don't make them anymore.
That's right.
And to answer a question that came up earlier, no one's picked up the mantle to provide this stuff, but I believe, and I'm going from memory here, but I believe that GE true circuit breakers will fit in a Federal Pacific
You can
panel.
find some of that
But
stuff.
this is a switch, and it won't. The
Well,
switch
you know,
gears
the
get
jail
together.
is going to be down for painting at some point in time, and when it goes down for painting, if we need to replace switch gear or do whatever, we have another opportunity within a short period of time, 2 months or so, in order to do these things, and we can schedule that.
Now, you do realize that when you're replacing the switch gear, that's not just the jail, that's the entire courthouse.
No, we don't realize that.
Okay. That is the entire courthouse.
Well, hey, that sounds good.
It will be down.
No, we need to take a look at that. We need to take a look at that as a separate item. You're talking about replacing switchgear that's rebuilt. I don't have a problem with it. It works.
That's right. If we replace one circuit breaker or one switch, like we're talking about doing that currently feeds the jail, then you're right. That would only take the jail down. But if we're talking about the whole switch
No,
gear,
we don't want the whole place down, because as long as Federal Pacific can rebuild these things and stick them back in and they work, that's fine with me.
and I believe that that's what we will know the answer to that question definitively after CBC nuclear. Yes.
I'm gonna have to nail you down on this. If we give you to go ahead tonight, worst case scenario, when will the jail be operable?
Um,
And the judge says so.
Would it be 30 days?
I'm not talking about the judge, I'm talking about what you need to do.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, that does depend on whether he's going to require us to have the smoke evac system in, but assuming that that's not the case.
Well, I'm not sure that's in the judge's purview. He can probably push us into it, and I wouldn't be against doing it necessarily. But that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, let's just stay with our issues that we
Yeah,
have right now.
but you do need to figure working concurrently with bureaucrats.
Come on, you just tell them. God.
Well, he's going to have to.
We've got all that in there. We do that. We got all that.
Question, Nancy, that's all.
He's working on it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. We would start
Remember, he said worst case.
That's right. We would start the
You're
design
in the bureaucrats.
next week. We'd get a week to do the design, a few days for DHHS, and once they gave us the approval, we could order the automatic transfer switch. Worst case scenario, we figure 4 weeks. Give the contractor another couple of weeks to get it installed, and then inspected. Throw in another week for that, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks, so 2 months.
The best would be 4 weeks.
Worst is 8 to 9.
Yes.
Is there any way we can get these inspectors on the ball? I mean,
Oh, they will. Stan, the inspectors are cooperating.
I was going to say, so far they've been very, and I think DHHS will, so I think that's, like I said, worst case
I know a
scenario.
lot of these guys, they are not the problem in an emergency situation. I can assure you that.
I'm talking about the City of Washington inspectors.
No, they're not a problem.
City of Washington inspector
Good.
responded very quickly.
No, you don't.
I think
put that in sleep.
I think maybe the better answer to your question is best case scenario, I think we're looking at 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think worst case scenario, you're looking to 8 to 10, I'll call it 9, just
Yeah.
to split the
We're going
difference.
to be after you by then. We're going to be helping you by then.
I'm sorry?
We're going to be helping you by then.
He's our engineer and lawyer.
What's your estimated total cost when this is all done?
I actually had asked the electrical contractor when I was calling about getting timeframes for doing this to get pricing on a 50 kW generator that was LP, and the generator itself was $39,000, and installed cost he was estimating to be just under 60.
I mean, you got to deal with it.
Okay, all right.
Now, so that's double the cost of going with Power Secure, but all Power Secure is doing is giving you as an automatic transfer switch.
Yeah, and
It does.
it's very risky, because you may be trying to get them out of here and going through this same exercise, I'm thinking, within 3 months.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, just so I'm clear, you're directing me to sign purchase orders that come through
Yes,
with
sir.
the signature of Mr. Pugh and Mrs. Smith. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Please move just
Get it
quickly.
done.
Yeah.
50 million.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, county facilities plan
Inspectors are not a problem.
All right, let's move on to
synopsis.
page 246.
246.
As you will recall, we've been studying this plan for the past several months. We started discussing and talking about it at our retreat back in February. We've had a couple of work sessions where you've had opportunities to make comments, changes, and recommendations. This is the final version, and this is, in fact, the first capital improvement program that Beaufort County will have ever adopted. Tonight, if you would move forward and adopt it, I recommend that you do adopt it. It's going to become more and more valuable each year as we go through this process during the budget period. We will review the project list, the whole plan, update, add, delete projects, and refine it. And it's the kind of thing that is very valuable, as we've been discussing in the past year and a half or so. Beaufort County has suffered, I think, by a lack of adequate planning for managing facilities and needs in this county. And we worked a lot, had a lot of discussion working with our Board of Education to encourage them to do the same thing. So this is our first step. It is not a perfect document by any means. But it's a major step and a major progress for us to adopt this tonight. So I would encourage you to move forward with it and take it, use it during the year, refer to it when something comes up that you have thoughts or recommendations or ideas that you would like to include for the following year. And it will become a valuable tool as we move forward in future years, and I encourage you to adopt.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Manager's report.
Moving on over to page 272. The first item on page 273 is our monthly travel, and in the amount of $4,089.35.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. A second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? 5-2.
Do we still need to vote on it
This will be the last one.
last time?
Moving on to page 274, you have some appointments for your consideration. The first one was, we were advised recently by Martin County Community Action that I believe Commissioner Booth has given his okay to, if the board is interested in appointing him, that he's willing to serve in that capacity on their board.
I nominate Commissioner Booth.
Have a motion there, second.
Second.
I don't think we have to do that.
Because it's fine, they had asked me to serve, but it's the same night that I have
Yeah, but I don't
East
think we
Carolina
need
Behavioral Health, so
Yeah.
I couldn't be at both, so
Yeah. I don't think we need to second.
No.
It's okay.
you're good. All right.
Okay, next you got some information on the EDC, Economic Development Advisory Board, that the board has been seeking out, and I think we're gradually getting this information. We've only got 2 left that we have not received. Judge, you didn't get any more of them, did you?
We did not, but we had a commissioner that made a phone call, and we were assured that the town of Belhaven is quick to respond now. They understand the situation.
Okay. So hopefully we'll have those by the next meeting for you. Letter C, the NACO voting delegate, that needs to be approved for our 2 commissioners that are attending the conference later in the month.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Letter
7-0.
D, for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference held later in the summer, we need to approve this voting delegate as well.
Nominate Chairman Langley and Commissioner Booth again. If they're going to vote in Dallas, they can vote here too.
All right, that's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
The next one is, I believe these terms have not expired yet, I don't believe, have they?
September.
Just advising you of the upcoming expiration.
Do it next month.
Consideration, you can do that. And on the health board, on page 275, you have also,
We can just do the ones that are already named, the vacancy, y'all, because the board will make a nomination, don't they?
I think they've already nominated Chris Paget. He's got a form
Paget.
filled out in
Okay.
here.
We
so-
did, we received applications again and volunteers, application forms for Dr. Matt Jones and for Michael Bell. They would like to serve again.
And so the other one is Paget.
And we did receive a recommendation as well, and I do have his.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve all three at one time? Is that all right?
Well, the county attorney doesn't like it, but
You don't like it?
Well,
he
if you're
doesn't
going
like
to start splitting your votes, it's not a good way to do it, but if you're down.
I nominate Mac Jones.
So moved. I don't have to do that. Sorry.
All right. Any other nominations for Mac Jones' spot? All in favor of Mac Jones?
I nominate Mike Bell.
Any other nominations for that spot? All in favor?
I nominate Chris Paget.
All in favor?
Next, you have another recommendation for terms that expiring in September or for the rest of those, on both of those two boards.
You want the volunteer ag districts?
Yes.
As volunteer ag districts, just to make you aware of this, is something that those guys that were doing those, taking all of those leases and trying to bring the OLF and the military get control, one of their thoughts originally was to use this as the method for getting their foot in the door and taking this stuff over. So
Collection of
I don't care if we don't appoint anybody to it.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move we don't appoint anybody.
I second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
What was
To not to appoint anybody for the volunteer ag districts.
who's up there now?
Tony Russ, Mac D. Daniels, and Lex Mann.
Yeah, they're President Bundle.
Say
They'll
again?
stay. They'll stay if we don't vote nobody.
I don't care. We've made our statement.
Okay.
If we don't vote.
Madam Clerk, hold on, Madam Clerk.
I think I understand what Commissioner Richardson is saying about not reappointing. The caveat, if you will, in here is that they will continue to serve, they will continue to operate, we just won't put new people in there. But it will still be enforced and they will still work.
That's fine with me, but
Just aren't appointing anybody.
if any technicality comes up, my motion is that we leave those spaces vacant. Let me put it that way.
It won't happen that way. Those
Well, we
continue
can
to serve.
still make the motion, we can still do our protest vote, and we can still move on.
There is a third option.
All right, you have a motion and a second.
Don't muddy my
All in
waters.
favor, raise your right hand. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? All right,
Is the
cool.
third option.
All right, somebody make the motion.
I make a motion to reappoint the ones that's already serving.
Okay, is there a second? Discussion.
There's a third option.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 4-3, it passed. Beaufort Regional Medical Authority.
Yeah. What? The Beaufort Regional, we've got to have a board meeting before we can nominate anybody, because we haven't nominated anybody yet. We're still looking for somebody to fill one of these positions, a vacant position on the board.
All right, what else do we have?
Page 308 for the end-of-year budget amendments. Jim, you want to talk about those?
Chairman, you have 4 pages. One is the general fund and various other funds. The next 3 pages are closeouts for projects that I'm just cleaning up. There was a request last meeting for budget amendments to come to you all with 3 columns, which was the original budget proposed, and we developed a new format. These are just lingering carryover amendments. So from now on, here on out, you'll start seeing the amendments in the new way.
Okay. What do you need from us?
Just an approval of these amendments.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
A couple of questions, this Medicaid on revenue, 130,000. I thought we were done with Medicaid.
That's DSS services. We're not done with, we receive, that's part of your aging program. I can't remember what CAP stands for.
Oh, okay, and that's money that's revenue, well, that's revenue going out.
That's decreasing revenue from what was budgeted. Part of that, you'll see a majority of that is fallout for salaries and so forth that we didn't spend for CAP. CAP is reimbursable based on employee time
Okay.
coating. So it's one of those reimbursable expenditures.
Go down to the rest of those negative entries in there. The City of Washington transfer 9/11 funds.
That was a mistake in our office. If you look above, I'm just moving, it's a reallocation.
Okay.
We budgeted in the wrong line item, and we're just asking us to reallocate it to another line item.
Okay, I think I understand the water district things. They have to do with the refinancing.
Yes, sir. And if you look down below, we're also decreasing expenditures in the same amount as that.
I got you.
That's just to balance us out.
Is that it? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Okay.
Next item on page 312 is the Beaufort High Martin Regional Library annual plan that Mrs. Susan Benny came to the board meeting several months ago and presented this to you in draft form and advised the board that this was an updated policy that the district, the region was working on, and this is the final part of it that she has submitted to you for your review. Regional agreement.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move we accept it.
Have a motion, second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
The last item on page 322 is a resolution related to some discussions that are going on in the General Assembly currently regarding the Solid Waste Management Act of 2007. And I think Commissioner Belcher was interested in this, and he picked up on it and asked us to have a brief discussion on it.
Basically, if you've been reading about the newspaper, that they are loosening the rules on sanitary landfills to the point that they're likely to pollute more, and also there could be the chance that mega landfills could be introduced into probably the poor counties in North Carolina because they won't be able to defend themselves against it. And this is just a resolution supporting the law that was the landfill law that was passed in 2007 by the General Assembly.
Vote for it, but I mean,
But because, you know, in eastern North Carolina, our water comes from the aquifer, and also we have many lakes and streams that we wouldn't want to have polluted. So,
Well, don't we already have laws on the books that pretty much, I mean, federal laws that are overlaid?
they're loose. No, what this is doing is is making the state law looser. The law that's before the General Assembly now would change this, the 2007 law that was passed to tighten down on landfills. And
You know why they're loosening it?
well, they're pro-business, probably. You know,
The 2007 law was passed to kill the proposed landfill in Camden County. Senator Bassnight worked on supported that legislation to kill that proposed landfill.
Me no private sector.
Planning to build.
There, you let them get away with it.
All right, you have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Well, yeah, there's got to be a better reason than they're pro-business.
well, they're pro-allowing businesses to do pretty much what they please in a lot of instances, as opposed to regulating businesses.
Yeah,
Now, Bob, you know, that's an inflammatory statement.
I find it hard to
Well,
believe
I meant it to be.
I find it hard
I mean, that's just basically what the legislature's doing up there.
No, that's not what they're doing at all.
even though these people are pro-business, they still have to follow water quality rules, and this doesn't loosen that up.
No, none of the water quality rules have been loosened up at all. So, you know, you don't.
You know, and it's not really our job to fight the fight for poorer counties who may actually want the revenue from a large landfill. Well, you know, some people in our county may want the revenue from a large.
I got with it. I don't want to see the Castlane Aquifer ever compromised by a leaking landfill.
It can't be compromised by Castle. Bob, it just shows you don't understand. The Castlehane Aquifer can never be compromised by a leaking landfill in Beaufort County or probably Pitt County or most of the counties east of Highway 17. If you understood the groundwater hydrology of how it works, you would know that.
No, I don't understand as much as you do about
You're
it.
getting a little wild.
I mean,
But I do understand that, I do understand that we have rivers and streams and estuaries in eastern North Carolina, and we have wetlands that can be polluted.
They've been overregulated like you wouldn't believe.
All right.
That's exactly right.
All right, you have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? It failed.
Only thing remaining is our closed session for economic development and personnel.
I don't know if we want to do it or not.
And we have, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, we do need to let you approve your red envelope to closed session minutes.
I move we approve the closed session minutes that are in the red envelope.
I will second that motion in the red envelope.
All right, all in
That's what
favor?
we got a clerk for, to identify it.
All right.
Well, let's do the closed session and go
Get it
home.
over
Get it
with.
over with.
Man,
All
I don't
right.
know anything. I've already been here long enough. I don't
Read
know
it.
anything
Utes looks
over.
like he's going to lay out in the floor if we don't do something.
Someone read it.
Do what? Oh,
You need that?
I'm sorry.
He needs his personnel.
Which one of them are we looking for?
No, we're doing our economic development.
Bob Hughes looks like he go home.
Under North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A4, I move we go into closed session under that statute to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of a business in the area served by this body.
So move. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hands.
I did my
All right, we're in closed session.
Hey, Marcus, you can go ahead and go home. We'll see you later.
All right, we're back in open session. Is there any further business?
I move that we void the contract that we have with Rasmussen and whatever his corporate names are, and that he return the land that we have deeded to him to Beaufort County.
Okay, you have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'll offer this, man. I'm really happy for these folks that are buying Weir property, and it sounds like they're probably getting a great deal, and it's a great location. I live out that way, and I wish them well, but, the first deal is over. They didn't do exactly what they're supposed to do. We did what we were supposed to do. We have reversionary law language in the contract, and property's deeded back to us, and I wish them well.
Anything further? All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed?
I stay.
You can't.
Can't stay.
Well, you're in the affirmative.
Yeah. Then that's a 4-3.
Yeah, that'll be
Maybe 4-3.
Okay.
So the motion.
I make a
motion
motion, I make a motion that we accept the $90,000 for matching funds. Also, but we give him the money as he adds on the employees.
Okay, have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing. Again, I feel like this is good for them, and I wish them quite well. I'm happy for them. I think they I celebrate when anybody takes a piece of property that's unused and now it's being used. However, it's not our position as a government entity, as overseeing the public funds, to grant special privileges from one to the other with the hopes that they will eventually be even more successful, because it has not worked out that way in Beaufort County over the years. And hence, economic development is not working here. So you do what you want to do. I'm voting against it.
Well, Charlie and P&G has been here, and it's a proven company. And I don't see any reason why they can't continue to be here and continue to grow.
I want them to
Charlie
be here.
Rasmussen is a very, very aggressive businessman, and I think that he will make that place grow and add businesses to Beaufort County.
But he can do that just as well without public funds. I mean, he's a good man. I take your word on it. I don't know him personally. I know the number 2 guy there. He's a wonderful individual. But it's not up for us to pick winners and losers. He will win without us. We shouldn't help the ones that are very, very successful, as well as we shouldn't help the ones that aren't.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, the problem that I have with this is what about all of the other business people in Beaufort County that are running businesses, that are trying to expand them, that need money to expand them? Stan's right. We're picking winners and losers. We made a deal that we would provide land if he would build a new building in our industrial park. And he chose not to do that, and that's fine. He can certainly do that. But I don't think so much about Rasmussen, who obviously has plenty of money, as I do about the small business people in Beaufort County that are having to fund their own expansions, that are not getting tax credits and tax breaks and gifts from the government.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 4-3. Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we adjourn.